right. Well, it is 10:01, so we're going to go ahead and start with our introductions, and then more people will be coming in. But hello, everyone. Welcome to our final virtual Coffee with a Curator program for the semester. So first, I just want to thank all of you who've been supporting this program and attending. And if this is your first time meeting with us, thank you so much for being here. We're so happy to have you. But just for everybody, thank you for making time in your schedule for this program. And I hope it brings some light into your life. Today is going to be an awesome day. We're going to have, as you probably have ascertained, we're going to have Camilla present today. And I'm hoping we'll get some great discussions about Southern cookbooks and just cookbook adventures and cataloging rare cookbooks, all sorts of things. It's going to be a lot of fun. But we will, of course, without further ado, we'll get started with Andrew's segment. So Andrew Bramlett is one of our faithful attendees. There we go. Andrew actually changes the background for his Zoom background to a bookish place that has something to do with the theme for the day. So he has never failed us. He often stumps us, but sometimes we get it. We'll see. So today we're going to be talking about cookbooks and things like that. So I imagine interesting. So Andrew's background might have something to do with that. Andrew, do you have any clues that you want to share?
Really, I have two things today. I have the place and the person. The person is often more connected to cookbooks, but both have a food connection.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Also, salad. That's my only other big hint right now.
But what's the other big hint?
Salad.
Salad. Okay.
I have a couple of hints, but we might all give it away pretty easily, so I don't want to use them yet.
Your clue is salad?
Yes.
Salad libraries. Come on, people. We can do this.
And I will say, this week's is not actually a library. I'm running low on cooking libraries. Did Julia Child's a while ago, so we can rule that one out. Yeah, this is not Julia Child behind me. Let me just start by saying that.
No, I would say, pretty rough-looking Julia Child. Does this person, can I ask a little 20 questions style, does this person have something to do with food production and distribution, maybe?
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh.
Like maybe a well-known name like Heinz or Kraft or, no? Wrong track?
No.
Okay.
I see where you're going there. Salad dressings. I got that tomorrow. I see where you're
That's
going.
not Paul Newman. That's one of my favorite salad dressings. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, I thought of this one all on my own and then Googled it to double check. And I'm going to guess, is it the Cobb salad and that's the brown derby? No!
The brown derby looks like, the brown derby had the big brown derby. This
I
doesn't
don't
look
know.
like a hat to me.
I think you get bonus points, Maggie. That's a pretty good
Yeah.
The guy has a hat on, so,
That's true.
I didn't know.
I feel like it has no connection to Caesar salad.
Oh, unfortunately not. No.
Okay.
I
Maggie
don't
said
know why
Cobb.
I think
went
Helen
Caesar.
probably has got this. Helen?
I'm sorry, I had to step away and grab my cookbook. I missed the clue.
Salad.
Nah, I got nothing.
Salad.
So
Wait,
this is
it's supposed to be in the South or no?
It is not in the South, I will say that.
okay.
They
Can
have
I-
salad in the
Is
north?
it a Waldorf salad?
Yes.
Hey,
See, look at
Oh.
you, Helen. You had it.
Is that the Waldorf Hotel?
Yes, the Waldorf Astoria. My other hint, which I thought this might give it away, is that this is the only place I've ever done which has a Muppet named after it. But I thought that might give it away. So next for the second part, who's the person?
Mr. Waldorf?
Unfortunately not, no.
What's the other Muppet's name? Waldorf and
Statwood.
the two guys that sit in the theater and mock them from the top balcony thing? Yeah.
So I don't have an answer, but I will tell you that my favorite birthday cake over the years, my mother used to make. She was not from the South, so she made what you all would call a red velvet cake. She always called it a Waldorf Astoria cake.
Oh.
because somehow there was some connection of a recipe that came from the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. So that's all I got for sure.
That's pretty cool.
Google just told me that the Waldorf salad was created by Oscar Sharkey.
Who is standing right behind me. Virtually.
Yay!
Yay.
He also created, he popularized Eggs Benedict and Thousand Island dressing. And he offered a cookbook of his own. He was the hotel's maitre d'.
Wow, that's great. Okay, I have a question for Helen. When Andrew said it's not the salad, what made you guess Waldorf salad?
Isn't the Waldorf in New York?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't know about that. Okay, very, very cool.
The Waldorf story is actually kind of a weird story. There were two rival sides of the Astor family. They both had houses next to each other, and one decided just to sort of get at the other one. They demolished the house and built their own hotel and made a boatload of money off of it. And then the other one said, well, if you're going to have your hotel, I'll have my own. So they demolished their house and built their own. One was called the Waldorf, one was called the Astoria. And then they finally just merged them because you have two basically identical hotels next to each other. What's the point?
Wow.
And it gave us the Waldorf Astoria.
Very, very cool. Thank you, Andrew.
I'm sad that Lori's just joining us. I'm sad she missed that. Maybe we should, if you have a second, maybe we could put her on the spot and say, okay, go, Lori.
Yeah, we can see if she knows.
We just learned so much.
Yes. Lori, are you there? Can you hear me?
Sorry, everybody. I was a couple of minutes late, and it looks like I missed Andrew.
It's all good. This one was very different. Andrew gave us this
background that you see, and he said that our clue was salad.
And
I'm sorry, salad?
yes, exactly. So Helen ended up figuring it out. Yeah, it's not a library this time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Do you?
I'm trying to think of all of the famous salads that have
This one's in New York.
been designed. I mean, is it the Waldorf?
You're right.
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
Okay.
I told you Lori would get it.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm sitting here running through. I was like, oh, okay. I need a name, a famous salad.
I could not even think of names of salads. I mean, that clue didn't help me.
I love that photograph, Andrew. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the person standing here is the man who invented the Waldorf salad, Oscar Toshki. He also popularized the Eggs Benedict and Thousand Island dressing.
That is super cool. And again, I've heard of Waldorf salad, of course. I just didn't know that. I didn't really make the connection between that and the hotel and didn't know where it was from. So anyway, thank you, Andrew. I always learn something new. As usual, Andrew has put a handout in the chat for us. So you can download that if you want to know more. So thank you again, Andrew, for just a whole semester of finding these awesome places for us. Thank you. It's really, really fun. So we appreciate that. So now that we've had fun with that, we'll go ahead and I'm going to introduce our speaker, and then Camilla is actually going to talk to us about all that she's been doing, really behind the scenes, mostly a lot of work with the Rare Book Museum's culinary collection. As you all know, you may have remembered from last semester, Camilla's done this a couple times, but she's always talking about something new. And so this will be a unique presentation as well. But let me introduce her to you first. So Camilla Stiegel has been working with us over the past, Camilla's been working with us since she was a sophomore, but specifically with our culinary collection, I feel like it's been about a year and a half, Camilla, I can hardly remember. But she's been conducting scholarly research and creating outreach deliverables for the Bentley Rare Book Museum's collection of rare and historic cookbooks. And she's graduating tomorrow. Yay! So we're so proud of her. So she, again, graduating senior in the honors program. She'll receive her undergraduate degree in history with minors in public history and German studies. And she's, like I said, she's volunteered with the Rare Book Room and the archives since spring 2019. So it has been a while. So this summer, Camilla will attend the Georgia Archives Institute and right before she begins her master's degree in library and information science at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign's online program. Camilla's career goal is to be an archivist or special collections librarian at a university and hopefully keep sharing the joy of cookbooks. So yay, we're so happy to have you, Camilla. And you can just take it away. She's got some awesome stuff to share with us.
All right. Hello, everyone. I have a presentation, so I'm going to see about getting that shared.
Yep, I think you should be able to share your screen. Yep.
All right. And let's make it big so everyone can see it.
Yep.
There we go. It knows when I have a presentation.
Yes, perfect.
All right. So today I'm going to be talking with you all about the projects I've undertaken the past semester with the Bentley via an honors applied learning experience, which is a less formal internship. And my projects reflect the three of the main aspects of rare book institutions, and that is outreach, collection development, and collection management. My first project for the semester was the continuation of my Cookery Corner, Cooking with Rare Books segment of the Bentley's blog. And this semester, I focused on the celebrated chef and cookbook author, Edna Lewis. And I wrote posts about her for Black History Month in February and Women's History Month in March, which shows you that there's always an opportunity to talk about rare books. Some background information on Edna Lewis is that she was born in Freetown, Virginia in 1916, and Freetown was a settlement that was established by freed slaves, including Lewis's grandfather. And as it was a farming community, there was a focus on fresh food and cooking with the seasons. And within Freetown, there was an essence of community cooking and cooking good food. And these are aspects that stayed with Lewis and shaped her career and style of cooking. When she was 16, she left Freetown and eventually came to New York, where she took on some interesting occupations. She was a typesetter for a communist newspaper called The Daily Worker, and she also worked as a seamstress, sometimes for celebrities. And it's through her seamstress work that she developed her own African-influenced fashion design. But throughout all this, she maintained an interest in cooking, and in 1947, her friends Carl Bissinger and Joan Nicholson invited her to join them as a partner in creating a new restaurant, which became Cafe Nicholson. It was meant to be a restaurant where truck drivers could eat, but it soon had a celebrity guest list, which included Eleanor Roosevelt and Southern writers such as William Faulkner and Tennessee Williams. After an illness, she left Cafe Nicholson in 1953 and New York. But after some more occupational adventures, she was a peasant farmer in New Jersey for a little while. She came back to New York and she has worked as a caterer and as a cooking tutor. And then she opened her own restaurant in Harlem in 1967. However, it went bankrupt in 1968, and soon she also then broke her leg and found herself bedridden and incredibly bored. And she reached out to one of her former cooking students, socialite Evangeline Peterson, and she told her that she had decided to write the cookbook. And that cookbook was the Edna Lewis cookbook. But first, they had to get in contact with an editor and publishing company, and they were put in contact with Judith Jones at Alfred A. Knopf Publishing Company. Judith Jones is also significant in the world of editing and publishing, as it is thanks to her efforts that the Diary of Anne Frank in English was saved from the discard pile, and also she brought to the fore another culinary chef and celebrity, Julia Child, with her Mastering the Art of French Cooking. So what came of the meeting of Edna Lewis, Evangeline Peterson, and Judith Jones was the Edna Lewis cookbook, but Jones knew that Lewis had much more to write, and in 1976, she wrote her most popular work that changed Southern cooking, was The Taste of Country Cooking. Later, she wrote 2 more cookbooks, The Pursuit of Flavor in 1988, and then in 2003, she co-wrote The Gift of Southern Cooking with Southern chef Scott Peacock. She continued to work as a chef until the 1990s, and then she spent the last years of her life in Decatur, Georgia, with her co-author and very close friend, Scott Peacock. She died in 2006. The Bentley has a copy of the Edna Lewis cookbook, and in this is included a significant amount of biographical information about Lewis. This is from her earliest childhood in Freetown to her time in New York and her occupations there, her time at Cafe Nicholson, and the events leading up to the writing of the Edna Lewis cookbook. And it's really through her cookbooks that we have this biographical information. The Edna Lewis cookbook also has French and Southern-based recipes. A lot of French recipes in there, and this unique combination of influences is definitely highlighted on the dust jacket as they paired some of these recipes, such as Southern spoon bread and quiche Lorraine, Virginia baked ham and wild pheasants with wild rice and white grapes, and then for dessert, blueberry pie and meringue torte. So very different influences, such to the point when she was cooking such recipes at Cafe Nicholson, William Faulkner asked her if she was from France. And as she wasn't, this caused Lewis to think about why he would think that. And she came to believe that it was possibly French influences from when Thomas Jefferson had gone to France and then came back to Virginia, that his influences from his French adventures it also influenced the cooking of Freetown, as Freetown is close to the home of the Jeffersons. Finally, the Edna Lewis cookbook also shows Lewis's knowledge of cooking with the seasons, as the recipes are separated into seasonal menus. While I was researching Edna Lewis, the most significant book for understanding her legacy and her works was a collected essays called Edna Lewis at the Table with an American Original, and this was edited by Sarah B. Franklin. And it includes remembrances of people meeting Lewis or just their interactions with her cookbooks. And it also includes scholarly analysis of Lewis and her cookbooks and what they mean to American culture and culinary culture. And it was through this cookbook, this wasn't a cookbook, but it's through this book that I began to see connections between Lewis and other cookery books. And this developed into my collection development project for the semester. And for a collection development project, I research and identify rare books, and this semester also a reference book that I believe will benefit the Bentley's collections and their mission to educate. I then write up proposals with this information and provide them to Ms. Joy Ellen. And so at the beginning of the semester, we planned for this to be a continuation of wartime cookery that I had done last spring, where I focused on Civil War, World War I, and World War II cookbooks. But then I began to see the Edna Lewis connections at the table and even at a virtual book fair I attended. And when I shared some of my findings with Joy Ellen, I was then enthusiastically encouraged to follow my new culinary leads. And so now I will share 5 books that I identified in an Edna Lewis Southern Cookery, African American Cookery collection. The first book, as I alluded to earlier, was The Taste of Country Cooking, and this is Edna Lewis's magnum opus. Her focus on farm fresh foods and cooking with the seasons revolutionized American understanding of what Southern cuisine was. Food writer Frances Lamb sums up prior understanding as grease, greens, and grits. Additionally, this is not only a cookbook, but it is also her memoir, as she writes beautiful descriptive passages about life in Freetown, Virginia. Her success with this book is especially significant as it came during a century that rarely acknowledged African American, especially women's, experience and expertise in the kitchen. And her book provided a new look on African American involvement in Southern cookery in the postbellum turn-of-the-century South. So this is not only a cookbook, but an insightful piece of cultural and culinary history. And at the table, historian Michael W. Twitty explains how the taste of country cooking is very much specific to Virginia and Upper South, rather than exemplifying the entire South as a whole. He then compares the taste of country cooking to the Virginia Housewife, or the Methodical Cook, which was written by Mary Randolph in 1824. This work by itself is a very significant piece of American culinary history. It's been referred to as the first American cookbook, as prior cookbooks written in America heavily relied on English traditions or simply plagiarized English cookbooks, and it's also been referred to as the first regional cookbook, as it definitely reflects the life of a Southerner, but it also shows the diverse culinary influences on Southern cooking. Finally, it's also been referred to as the most influential cookbook of the 19th century, as it had 19 editions by 1861. The Virginia housewife is an elite white woman view on Southern cookery and white women's role in managerial role in the kitchen in this time period. And this is definitely exemplified by Randolph having family connections to Thomas Jefferson and Robert E. Lee. And it is definitely also a contrast piece to the taste of country cooking, which feature recipes that most likely carry on the traditions of what Edna Lewis's ancestors in Virginia ate. Additionally, the significance of Edna Lewis brought up discussion on the history of African American cookbooks. And last semester, I proposed Abby Fisher's What Mrs. Fisher Knows About Old Southern Cooking, Soups, Pickles, Preserves, etc. from 1881. And this was a cookbook written by a formerly enslaved woman. This semester, I researched a domestic cookbook written by Melinda Russell, a free woman, in 1866. And this is the earliest known cookbook written by an African American. And so Abby Fisher's and the Domestic Cookbook make up the two known cookbooks written by African Americans in the 19th century. There were two earlier books written by African American men, but these were hotel and house manager guides rather than pure cookery books. Most, if not all, that is known about Melinda Russell is included in biographical information in her 39-page pamphlet. And Russell had owned a bakery, and this pamphlet is filled with her recipes that reflect cakes and other tasty goods. She was born in Tennessee, and she tried to move to Liberia. However, she was robbed along the way, and she stayed in Virginia for several years. She eventually came back to Tennessee, and she was once again robbed during the Civil War by a raiding guerrilla party in 1864, and she came to Michigan. And it appears that this cookbook was her way of accruing funds so that she could return to her home and property in Tennessee. There is only one known copy of this cookbook, and it was found amongst the papers of cookbook author Helen Evans Brown, I believe in California. And now this one copy is held in the University of Michigan, but they have digitized the original copy and uploaded it to Hathi Trust. And this is a website that has a wonderful trove of digitized early documents and older books. They also made a facsimile of a domestic cookbook in 2007, and this contains additional contextual information about its discovery and the other African American cookbooks known from the 19th century. Another highlight about a domestic cookbook is that Russell makes a reference to the Virginia housewife, which emphasizes the influence of that work. The next book brings us back to Edna Lewis specifically. The Gift of Southern Cooking was written by Lewis and her close friend Scott Peacock when they lived together in Decatur, Georgia in 2003. And Peacock, he had worked as a chef at the Georgia Governor's Mansion. And between the location and Scott Peacock's professional life, we see that Lewis is definitely connected to Georgia. However, unlike the taste of country cooking, the Gift of Southern Cooking reflects recipes from across the South, as Lewis was from Virginia, but Scott Peacock was from Southeast Alabama. And all their recipes include regional and historical contexts, and they also include family context, as many of these recipes came from their families, and they also reflect their unique friendship. One notable example of that, such one of those recipes, is Lewis's recipe for turtle soup, which she had made at the event which they first met in 1988. So a very unique and sentimental cookbook, and this has also become also another significant piece of Southern cookery. The last book from my proposal is the Jemima Code, 2 Centuries of African American Cookbooks. And this is written by Tony Tipton Martin in 2015. Unlike the other books in this collection, this is a reference text, as it is a bibliography of over 150 African American cookbooks from the 19th to the 21st century. A reference text like this one is significant in that it helps to research books already held by the Bentley, and it also helps the curator to identify other books to add to the collections. Tipton Martin includes photos of the books and often describes the content and often also puts them into historical context as she separates them into about 50-year time spans. Also, this book includes content for books that may not be easily available, such as it includes information about a domestic cookbook, which increases benefits to the Bentley. And this book also has a significant connection to Edna Lewis, as she helped inspire Tipton Martin to take on this research. As Lewis became well known, Tipton Martin sought to find information about other African American cooks and their involvement in Southern cookery that were silenced in American history. Lewis supported Tipton Martin's endeavor, and she wrote her a note and finished with, "Leave no stone unturned to prove this point. Make sure that you do." So Edna Lewis has an amazing legacy as she revitalized interest in Southern cookery. Along with her 4 cookbooks, she won many awards and accolades, such as the Grand Dame of Southern Cooking. She worked hard to preserve Southern cuisine, its history, and the role of African Americans in developing that cuisine. She and Peacock co-founded the Society for the Revival and Preservation of Southern Food, which soon melded into the Southern Foodway Alliance, of which Lewis was a founding member. After her death in 2006, she was honored with 4 other chefs and a stamp collection from the United States Postal Service for celebrity chefs. She is buried in Freetown, Virginia. Now I'm going to shift gears and talk about some adventures I had in rare book cataloging with Joy Ellen and Maggie, and this is a reflection of collection management. The 3 books that we cataloged this semester are Coupon Cookery, which I proposed last spring and then discussed with Wartime Holiday Cooking last fall. And then there was an historical account of the rise and progress of the colonies of South Carolina and Georgia in 2 volumes from 1779. And then we cataloged the Haggadah for Pesach from 1884, which we discussed last April at our Coffee with Curator for Passover week. And through our cataloging meetings, I had a chance to observe how to navigate OCLC, which is the Online Computer Library Center, where institutions from across the world upload, edit, and share their cataloging information for their books. Maggie and Joy Ellen showed me how MARC records that include this information are hosted on OCLC and can be exported into the back end of ALMA, which is KSU's online library catalog, so that when you look up a book on the catalog, it appears with this information as you can see here. On OCLC, you can find descriptions from other institutions and edit them to reflect your copy. However, you can also lock the record, meaning to make changes that affect not only your copy, but every institution that is using that description will be updated with the new information. And Joy Ellen had carried out extra research on historical accounts, and so she locked the record and inserted the bibliographic historical context that you can see here in the red circle. And I'll admit, just watching Maggie and Joy Ellen do all this was just very exciting, as I love to see how basically they took a book off the shelf and made it readily available to anyone who would like to have access to it. And so it was very exciting. And then finally, I did one last blog post as my time as an undergrad at KSU. And this was a lot of fun, as it was an opportunity to share all the wacky recipes I found in an April Fool's post. And these recipes definitely came more from the English housewife, with its 15th century ingredients, spelling choices, and then just choices overall. It led to some very questionable content. And then the food rationing and substitution of the world wars, and foods that will win the war and how to cook them for World War I, and coupon cookery from World War II provided some more questionable recipes. In fact, it was the lime relish salad from Coupon Cookery from World War II that inspired this post, as I had to share it with Maggie and Joy Ellen at one of our meetings, as it appears to be tartar sauce encased in lime jello. So maybe it's tasty, maybe it's not, but interesting nonetheless. And so that is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions, and thank you all for listening.
Yay! That was so great. Camilla, we have a question for you from Lori. It says, Camilla, about the cataloging, what was your impression of the book collation process?
It looked very intricate, and I would like to learn how and understand what it, I liked seeing the equations that you came up with, Joanne came up with at the end, and I would like to understand what it all means.
So fun fact, y'all, I am taking another rare book school course, and it is like the course people told me not to take because it is all collation and we get homework, and it's like the hardest collation ever. And so I will probably come back with my eyes like this, and maybe my hair will be gray, but Camilla and I we'll talk more collation after I get back, if I survive the class. So yeah, the collation, I love it. And yeah, Camilla, we'll do some more practice with that. It's super fun, I think. I and Camilla, we're so grateful for all that you've done for the Rare Book Room and by presenting your work to us. It's just so fascinating. And I will say Camilla was the one who made all those connections between Edna Lewis and the different cookbooks and kind of how that all, and so that's what a curator does. You know, it's kind of, sometimes it just starts with one text and then you explore branches, and sometimes branches you're not even expecting to find, and seeing these connections and then creating a carefully selected and curated assembly of materials that speak to each other and speak about each other and create new conversations. So Camilla really got a lot of practice doing that. One thing that I wanted to mention, Camilla, I know that when you mentioned the Virginia housewife, that's a text I don't know that we'll be able to get. We'll see if there's a copy that we can acquire, because I have this dream of putting the Virginia housewife next to the English housewife, because they have very different authorships, publications, date ranges, whatnot, but kind of putting these like a collection of housewife books. I think that would be really interesting and would be very telling of the time period. The other thing I wanted to mention is that when Camilla was referring to the Melinda Russell text, what is it, Camilla? The domestic cook? A domestic cookbook. A domestic cookbook. It's interesting that you mentioned, that was really the first cookbook written by an African-American. Those that came prior were written by men and were mostly like guides to maybe servitude or things like that. Because I remember, and it made me think of our book by Robert Roberts. And we have a facsimile of it. We don't have the real one, but it was published in 1827, and it's the House Servants Directory. And so again, it's really about how to be a good servant versus, and some recipes are included, a few, but mostly it's about how to do, all aspects of servitude. So anyway, any other questions for Camilla? Well, I have a comment, I guess. So Camilla left us with the lime relish salad. So we've been making fun of the recipe for about 6 months, but technically we never really yet made it. So y'all, I made it, and I was gonna try it, but I can't. I actually can't. I'm gonna show it to you guys. I can't, I think me making it made me not able to, let me get it. I stirred it for the longest time to try to make it not look like this, but it looks like this. I mean, it looks how you would think it would look. It's so bad. I can't. So it's lime jello packet, boiling water, mayonnaise, 3/4 cups of mayonnaise and a 1/2 cup of relish. I mean, it looks like someone vomited in here. So I was gonna try it, but I really can't.
So is it sweet relish or like dill relish?
I did sweet relish, because that I was like, there's no way I love, dill relish, but I just I don't think that would work in here. So I have this. I really was going to try it, but I just had anxiety about it and I can't.
It's actually probably not as bad as you think.
I think what's happening is that, I mean, I thought it might it doesn't smell good to me. I mean, it smells like, it doesn't smell good to me. Like, I thought maybe I'd smell more of a lime Jello, but I mean, maybe, I don't know. You're right. It probably doesn't, for it to be in a cookbook, it couldn't be that vile.
And it's a summer salad. So no, I'm serious. This is what they did. And it's actually kind of tame. I know it doesn't look appetizing, but they usually put a lot of thought into flavor combinations. So think for example, and anything Southern with pickles in it is just awesome. So,
but pickles.
Yeah, think of like a fruit. Think of a pear and mayonnaise and cheese salad.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah.
So many people are like, "Oh, that's so disgusting," and then
I love it.
And I love it too.
Yeah.
So many people are like, "It's so amazing." So it's probably the same way.
Yeah.
I think what's throwing me off is though, like
the appearance.
You kind of couldn't see it, but like the relish specks, they really don't look great. Like in the whole, it just, I don't know. And I like relish a lot, but maybe I needed to make it, and it's true. I didn't do exactly what they said. They said that you need to put it in like lettuce leaves, so maybe it would look more appetizing if I had taken a scoop and put it in like maybe I needed to do that.
What they would usually do is take a little, a pretty scoop, and they put it on a iceberg lettuce leaf, a decorative leaf, and then they would put a sprig of parsley on the top. And it makes it a little more visually appealing, but I totally get why it's hard to look at that, because just like with reading, with cooking, we bring our own associations to recipes. So no judgment from me that you prefer not to try it. You should see if your daughter will try it.
That'll be interesting. She'll probably be like, "What's that?" And I'll be like, "I don't know."
Fancy Jello.
Yeah.
I'm having a flashback to, I think, my grandmother's house as a child and being served something like this and just being like, Jello, but crunchy. I'm not sure.
Fancy Jello, I'm telling you.
It's so funny because, I feel like, this is probably something a lot of people have probably tried, maybe not realizing that's what they were trying. And I will say one thing, the recipe that it said in Coupon Cookery from 1943, it said it's what did it say, Camilla? It's one of their favorites because it's nippy, it's fast, and you can use it for a lot of things. I will say it was very fast. It is, if you're in a pinch, I guess, and you let it dry overnight, you have to let it, cool overnight, but it was very fast to make. Ooh, I really was going to try it, y'all.
Well, you're brave for making it. I admire you for making it. So
my husband was like,
so Ellen,
yeah,
I'll be happy to try it. It sounds actually intriguing to me. The more you're talking about it, the more I want to try it.
Oh, cool. I'll save you this whole thing.
Okay.
My husband was like, "I'll try it if you try it. I dare you to try it." So yeah, it's probably not that bad. I think I was there stirring it and making it, and just it wasn't going well with I was like, okay. But I did make it. So yes, if anyone wants to try it, for those, I don't know, might bring some in the break room tomorrow. If anyone wants to try it. Just kidding. Not gonna
After those wonderful sweets that you brought us for Mother's Day, you're gonna give us that?
Give us that, exactly. So maybe not. But anyway, so we got a chance to see what it looked like. But all in all, thank you, Camilla, for all that you've done for just with exploring and activating our rare book collections. And I love that verb because, again, we preserve texts, but we also activate them. We make them accessible to the public. We get people excited about them. We inspire new research questions or just general questions, and we try recipes, all sorts of things. So very, very excited about that. So for the last few minutes, I would love it. Since we talked quite a bit about Edna Lewis and her impact on Southern cooking, I would love for, if anyone has a Southern cookbook that they love or that they've used or that is special to them or they find interesting, I'd love to just open it up and hear from you all.
I have one I can share.
Okay, Helen, you can go first.
Okay, so this is something I found in my grandparents' house when they moved. This is Tar Heel Tastes. Tar Heel, for anyone who doesn't know, that is the name for a North Carolinian. So this is a very North Carolina cookbook. It's from 1981. It was a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society that was edited by Peggy Mann, who was a fixture on like local TV. I found this all out later doing actually a research project on this for an undergraduate class.
Wow.
She had this like homemaking cooking show based out of Raleigh in the 60s and 70s, I believe. And I have cooked many things out of it, but I love it just as much as kind of an artifact and a text on North Carolina from that time. You find recipes in it like Charlie's favorite barbecue sauce, right? Which includes serving suggestions for chicken and pork, because why would you call anything else barbecue? And even chicken is being generous. It's mostly pork in North Carolina. And I find it very interesting that there is ketchup in this recipe, and he's from Granville County, because I would consider that more on the eastern side. And eastern side barbecue sauce is vinegar based. Western side is the one that has tomato in it, but I guess that really kind of demonstrates where Granville County falls in terms of in the middle. There is a recipe for Flossie Johnson sauerkraut. I appreciate that she is Flossie Johnson in the title. She is Mrs. Junior Johnson in the attribution, but she fit both her names in there, which I appreciate. The recipe calls for mountain cabbage, salt, hot red peppers, and hot water. No amounts.
Of course not. You should know.
Yeah, and there's a whole long note in here about, she says, I don't process the jars. I just put it in a cool place, and it, lasts as long as it's supposed to. And then there's a note that says, Mrs. Johnson has no trouble keeping sauerkraut without the processing, generally recommended by the ball blue bug, that being like the mason jars. The reason, according to Dr. Nadine Tope, foods and nutrition specialist of North Carolina State University at Raleigh, is that Mrs. Johnson lives on the other side of the sauerkraut line. North Carolina may well be the only state with a sauerkraut line, meaning the cooler weather of the mountain area, especially the cooler nights, making sauerkraut easier to keep than in hotter areas of the state. She's in Wilkes County, which is in the mountains. I thought that was very interesting. And then one of the recipes in here that I have made, probably more than anything else, is there's just a really good recipe for peanut butter cookies, which is, I don't know that that's specifically North Carolina, other than we do grow a lot of peanuts. And I associate peanuts with my Eastern North Carolina grandmother, who would always have them in her kitchen. And that it calls for a cup of either lard or shortening. And I remember when I first got this cookbook, I was like, oh my gosh, they're raising money for the American Cancer Society, and it includes lard. But of course, now,
yeah,
the animal fats are not as bad for you. And our, grandparents and great grandparents had lower incidence of heart disease and everything. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's it. Anyway, lots of fun stuff in here. I find it a really interesting artifact of North Carolina.
Oh, I love that. That is just so great. Thank you for sharing. I love all the connections with your grandparents and just with North Carolina. That is one thing we all kind of know about Helen. She's very serious about archives outreach and barbecue.
Most North Carolinians have pretty strong opinions. But yeah.
Yes. Oh, that is so cool. I love that. I'm so glad you have one that's regional and like family connected. That is so, so cool. Yay. Well, Andrew, I saw your hand. Do you have one?
Let me turn off the video so you can see it easier for background. Okay. I have a Choice Recipes of Georgia Housekeepers, 1880. I have been the owner of this book for about 24 hours. I saw it yesterday and thought y'all might like it.
Oh, cool.
It is a compilation by like a women's group in Augusta. Mm-hmm. And it has sections like soup, fish, poultry, shellfish, meats, sauces and gravies. There's pages on pages devoted just to cakes, which I think is a great priority. It includes excellent recipes like mock turtle soup, but no real turtle soup, which I guess that's the good news. Calves head soup. I saw several calves brain things, several recipes for fried oysters. Here's a turtle stew, my bad. Ducks to prepare young, which I just say ducklings, but just not include it. Just pick something.
Oh dear.
Calves liver, how to dress a calf's head, brain croquettes, several different types of omelets, nothing weird though. And it's just a collection of Georgia recipes. A lot of gingerbread in here. I can definitely appreciate that. But yeah, here's the front of it again, 1880.
Andrew, where did you find that again?
Well, it's kind of a long story.
Yeah.
So it's one of those stories that begins way back in the 1930s. It's that long of a story. So Kennesaw Mountain, when it opened in 1939, the Visitor Center did. There were two ladies who raised the flag. One of them was Lucinda Hidage, who was a witness to the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain. And the other was Carol Northcutt, who was around 12 years old at the time. We were talking to her, and she said that she expected she'd be the one to raise the flag, but Mrs. Hidage snatched it out of her, and she didn't get a chance. And that she was kind of upset about that. So had found Carol Northcutt's name in the newspapers and had been trying to trace her down for the 80th anniversary of this flag raising, which would be 2019. And we're able to reach out to her, and she did raise the flag on the 80th anniversary. And then she passed away about a year ago. So we recently heard from her daughter, who asked if we'd like to look through some of their stuff. She said they've been cleaning out and thought there was some old books we might like. And we were over at her house yesterday, and this was one of them. Yeah, so definitely kind of a long story.
That's cool though. That's really cool. Make sure you record that story in your spreadsheet with all the books that you have. You want to make sure that you record that provenance story.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yay. Anybody else have a cookbook that they want to share? Okay. Let's see. Oh, Yvonne, you're muted.
I know.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I have a cookbook from my mother's collection of cookbooks. This is from the Temple Sisterhood. It's called Cooking Secrets. And the Temple is a synagogue here in Atlanta. And it is a collection of outstanding recipes gathered by the women that are members of the synagogue. So it is filled, but this is from the 50s, because I look at the names in here. These people are no longer with us. But it is a wonderful collection, and I just thought I'd share it because not many of these are around. Everybody makes, sisterhood recipes, but this one is from people from the 50s. So I just wanted to show it. It has a lot. They're all hostesses. They have a lot of interesting collections here.
That's amazing. Have you ever cooked anything from it?
Oh, absolutely. Many. I just can't remember. I just go down and find things, but there's sour cream molds and all kinds of little molds in here that we remember making from a long time ago.
Oh my gosh, I love those. There are people there are some people, I think that's their preference to collect cookbooks that are kind of, maybe from churches or synagogues and that women have compiled, mostly women have compiled and put together.
And it's interesting. Recipes change.
They do. Some things go in and out of fashion too. Like even like we were just talking about Jell-O.
Whatever. Anyway, okay.
Yeah. That is so exciting. Thank you for sharing. That's perfect. I love that. Anyone else? Camilla, did you have something?
Yes, I have one from my personal collection, and it's called Georgia on My Menu. And I got it from my great aunt, and when she lives in Arkansas. And when I was a teenager, I was really interested in collecting cookbooks. And I had just recently moved to Georgia, so she thought this would be an excellent one for me. And I had thought it was written by a church group, and I put it on my shelf because I really enjoy those. And I looked at it recently, And when I first got it, I had no idea where Marietta was in Georgia. And within the past few years being at Kennesaw, I'm now very familiar with where Marietta is. And so this was written by the Junior League of Cobb Marietta Incorporated, and it has a whole bunch of a variety of recipes, but it also has recipes by Georgia celebrities and restaurants. So it includes restaurants from the Marietta area, but it also has recipes from Georgia celebrities like Glenn Burns, meteorologist, and then Hershey bar cake, which was from the Honorable Vicky Chastain, mayor of Marietta, and I lived on Chastain Road for my time at Kennesaw, so I was like, there she is. And then there's other recipes from people all across Georgia, and so this was, it had a connection that I didn't know I had, so that's an exciting find.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was muted. Yay, that's awesome. I love that. So you've been collecting cookbooks a long time, since you were a teen. I didn't realize that. Yes, Andrew.
I do want to share real quick. I found a brain croquettes recipe. Do you want
what?
The brain croquettes recipe? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Soak an hour in cold water and parboil. Season highly and add as much breadcrumbs as brains. Mix with the white of an egg and sweet cream. Mold into cakes. Dip in the yolk of an egg. Then in cornmeal and fry.
Interesting.
It sounds suspiciously like meatloaf.
See, that sounds
Made
really
brain.
great. Just you can make that recipe and just leave the brain out, and it'd be amazing. I'd eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, croquettes are little smaller patties, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah, that's one that I'm just not there yet.
Okay, so Joellen, if you were forced to choose between fancy Jell-O and brain croquettes,
Jell-O would win.
see?
Jell-O would win. I don't think I could get over the mental hurdle of the brain croquette.
Yeah,
I think
it's a challenge. Even I am challenged with that.
Yeah, I just it's a mental thing. I don't think I could get over that. Yikes.
I was just going to mention that I have a really large collection of cookbooks that started with some cookbooks. I don't have them with me. They were handed down from my grandmother to my mom to me. And so every single time I go to any used bookstore, the first place I check is like the cookbook section. Mm-hmm. I have so many different wide varieties of cookbooks, and I want to make sure I try to always buy the most interesting one on the shelf. Last time I was at the bookstore, I actually picked up, there was a Dutch Pennsylvania cookery thing I got for Joelle because she likes the Amish stuff and everything. And I like giving cookbooks as presents. Mm-hmm. And people are kind of like, why? Because nobody really enjoys it like I do.
Oh, I love getting those as presents. And just for those who maybe live in Cobb County or not too far, I think biannually the Cobb County hosts the Cobb County book sale. And I've always noticed there's usually it's on the bottom of the Cobb Civic Center where they put the cookbooks, but it's a huge collection of cookbooks. So if you, they usually do a spring one and a fall one. So a spring sale and a fall sale. So if you're looking for cookbooks, usually the Cobb County book sale has quite a few. So I do have one cookbook I'd like to share. So this is one that it's not like a rare book or anything or an old book, but this is called A Real Southern Cook in Her Savannah Kitchen. And it's by Dora Charles. And so Dora Charles actually used to work with Paula Deen. And, you know, they kind of had like a falling out, which we all remember when that all happened. But the reason why she doesn't really go into that, you know, in this cookbook, but the reason why I love it is because I'm actually right now, I'm writing a novel. And the novel, a lot of it takes place in Savannah and in Riceboro, which is where my where part of his family is from. And like, no one has heard of Riceboro. But it's interesting because this cookbook is helping me understand that region, that coastal region of Georgia better, and what they ate, and kind of historically, a lot of most people were enslaved, and kind of how those traditions ended up impacting their cooking style and the foods that nourish them. So it's been really helpful for my novel, and recipes are really fascinating. And a lot of the recipes, she used at her at Paula Deen's restaurant in Savannah. So really, really cool stuff. The other thing is I collect, like a lot of people, I collect Southern Living. So that's my Christmas present from my mom every year, is she renews my Southern Living subscription. So I just collect them. And for those, they're not rare, but I just collect them. I love them. And one day I'm going to cook all the things that I have been staring at one day. But anyway, I really love Southern Living. So that's kind of my thing. In addition to my Amish books, of course. In addition. Does anyone else have a cookbook that they would like to share? No? Well, this was fascinating. I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk about this. And Camilla, again, can we give a round of applause for Camilla? Congratulations for all that you've done and for all that you are going to experience tomorrow with your graduation. We're so proud of you. I'm so happy that Camilla is going to be going to library school, but won't be far away from us. She's still going to be in Georgia. So she'll still be around. And so that makes me so, so excited, because I was going to have separation anxiety. That wasn't going to be good. Again, thank you all also for attending. This is our last program of the semester, but we will resume in the fall. We're just going to take a summer break, but you'll be getting emails from me. And for those of you who were part of Mr. Williams's Great Books class, I'm concocting something for Great Books folks. So please be on the lookout for an email. I won't say what, it's in the works, but we're concocting something for y'all. Yay! I saw Yvonne. So yeah, look out for an email from me if you used to attend Great Books. But again, thank you to everyone for coming. And I look forward to, I'm here all summer, so feel free to message me at any point, but I look forward to the fall semester. I have some really awesome programs in mind for us. So I'm already thinking about that. It's going to be great. But thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful summer. Okay, bye.
Congratulations, Camilla.
Yay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.